Hello and welcome to another Bushwhacker review. Today we are going to be taking a look at Joey Logano's Shell-Pennzoil Ford from 2013. If you've noticed, we've been taking a look at some Penske cars. Well, that's because I'm doing a Penske week and our Penske's 50th anniversary. This will be part 4, basically, if this works. I already reviewed the 2011 Brad Keselowski, the 2011 Kurt Busch, the 2013 Brad Keselowski. Now I'm reviewing the 2013 Joey Logano. And there'll be other cars coming the next couple days, too. So, if you're a Penske fan, you'll like this. If you're one of the people that hates Penske, you're going to hate this week. But, whatever. So, let's take a look at the box. This is the Elite version, so, you get your typical generic Elite box, all that good stuff that nobody likes. They've made 150 of these things. Interesting that, again, it just says Shell, not Shell-Pennzoil. 2013, copyright and such on the bottom. Here is the car itself. The scallop painting that everyone just adores so deeply. Does come with your typical Elite certificate of authenticity that you would expect by now. But let's get down to the car itself. This would be the first year that Joey Logano joined Penske and was in the scallop car. So, if you want the kind of old and the new, you probably want a Ford in your collection. And since it was the Elite version, it was actually slightly different than the ARC version, which we'll get to later, but it was a good first attempt. I mean, they seem to get better as the years went on. Like I said, I've reviewed the 2016 Logano Shell-Pennzoil Standard Fusion 2, and it's so much better. Like, overall, this is what I was talking about. This one just, first year, the design is just a little more rounded off. The Shell-Pennzoil is really low and, tiny. It's if you actually compare these, as long as this goes, at least my plan is someday to actually do a review of everything, or, a comparison video. Have the 2011 Kurt Busch up through as long as this car lasts, just to compare what changes over the years. But that might not happen because, they could use the painting for another 10 years, and who knows if I'm still doing YouTube videos in 10 years. But let's get down to sponsors. On the hood, you have Shell and Pennzoil Ford Fusion number 22. I did get this autographed in Watkins Glen one year, which Joey's a really nice guy to talk to and, go to his appearances. Which, a lot of people seem to act like he's just this, jerk, but I've met him a couple times, and he's never been a jerk to me. Now, down the side, you have Shell-Pennzoil, Discount Tire, AAA, you got Snap-on back there. On the C-post, you have Lennox and SKF, that's interesting. And on the B-post, you have Ford, PPG, Bosch, Mazak, and Coca-Cola. On the back, you have Shell-Pennzoil, Ford, and 22. On the deck lid, you have Shell and Pennzoil, and this is number 9. Interestingly enough, I've said before, but for some reason Penske never wanted to do the roof sponsors, which I kind of like, but always wonder what their thought process was behind not wanting to do them. And you got the same stuff down the other side as usual. Take a look under the hood. There you have your typical Elite engine detail. Can't really open the hood very much. Just says Shell-Pennzoil powered by Ford. You can even see that. Take a look under the deck lid. You got your typical fuel cell and such back there. The roof flaps do in fact open and have the tethers and all that good stuff. It doesn't want to go back down. Does have the removable window net, and there's the underside of the car if you would like to see it. So this was the first kind of debut of the Gen 6 cars. Interestingly enough, on these Elites, they didn't come out till August of 2013. The basic ones, July or August. Main major teams, drivers. It's hilarious. But I guess they really want to get them right with all the issues. See, one thing they updated is, you see, here's the 1/64th. And if you remember when you watched the 2013 Keselowski review, which if you haven't, go watch that, but the early cars were produced without the manufacturer logos on either side of the windshield. But on these Elites, because they were later, they actually did get them on there. So that's a very nice touch. I mean, the text is still way too small. Look at how tiny that thing looks. As you know by now, that it's a different font and much larger on the real car. So, that was another mistake, but at least they added the manufacturer decals. But there is next to 1/64th if you want to see that. Now, a couple interesting things else to note in this car is that, it does have the kind of inaccurate slanting down. This is kind of what I'm talking about. If you're watching these reviews, so I said that they seem to be kind of back and forth how they want to design the front end of these things. Pretty much on every car I've ever seen a picture of in the Cup Series on these bodies, is it pretty much the design curves in towards the middle of the grill. Some diecast they get it, some diecast look like this. No rhyme or reason to it, but whatever. But then, the weird thing I was pointing out about Lennox is that's the kind of strange thing, is Lennox was with Penske, and you see they were initially going to be on Logano's car. they're on these die-casts, and they, like, in the December of 2013, when they started testing some of the Gen 6 cars, Penske had their paint schemes fully painted up, and it had Lennox on the C-post. But then, come Daytona, just gone. You know, so that he never actually ran it once in an actual race with Lennox on it. They were on the early diecast, but then never seen again. Not sure what happened between Penske and Lennox or why they left, but that just seemed kind of strange. Like, this is pretty much the only the standard 2013 is the only diecast of Lennox. It was blank there for like the entire year until AutoZone took that spot, and that's where they are still today. So not sure what happened there. If somebody could tell me what happened between Lennox and Penske, because I always thought that was kind of funny, but that's pretty much all there's to say. This car is pretty hard to find. Strangely enough, people seem to hate on the Shell-Pennzoil scheme that seems to stay the same every year, but then these cars do get rare, strangely. Like, the standard Shell car each year does kind of disappear. Allmendinger's hard to find, this one's hard to find, 2014, 2015, they're hard to find. I can't explain why. That's probably also worth noting. I just noticed something else, is that the whole hood pin thing that I was talking about, where they were like curved in, where they were really flat, you see that they did update that on the Elites too, where, you know, this is accurate, where I think it was the Kozlowski I was talking about, where it has, you know, it was like 2 are up here and 2 are like in the middle here. So that's another thing they fixed before they put these Elites out. But now I think that's pretty much all there's to say. This has been a review of Joey Logano's 2013 Shell-Pennzoil 4 from the Elite version. Hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.